family fights? Yes, I've been going on 19 years this summer. I've been to 1,000 of them probably.
For Corporal Mark Wheelwright, it will be at least 1,002 domestic violence calls before the evening is over.
For Charlie 49, he will be at the residence. Pictures of a female and child involved in a domestic.
Got it.
They're called DVs, and Corporal Wheelwright's first DV this evening comes just 15 minutes after he leaves the station. He heads to Spokane's south side.
He hit me everywhere.
Okay.
The head, the nose, all over the face.
She's bruised and bleeding, but this woman's main concern is her child.
How did he get wounded up?
Fell? No. I was holding him, and he was dragging me all over the place, and his head got smashed in the wall.
Corporal Wheelwright also takes photographs of her face as evidence prosecutors can use in court.
Do you have any cuts inside your mouth?
Yeah.
Look like the bottom right. 83 on your side.
Let me get a picture of it before I get down here.
A couple of them, one on each corner.
That usually happens.
After you left, my nose started bleeding again.
Did you see the guy walk by out here? This happens quite frequently?
Yeah, when he decides to go in his spurts. Yeah, over little ridiculous things. $20.
$20.
Yeah. So I guess this was $20 worth to him.
The woman and her child will stay with friends her husband doesn't know. It's a scene Corporal Wheelwright sees over and over.
I was just saying that's your standard family fight there. The woman's she hasn't been slapped, she's been hit with a fist. She's got cuts down around her mouth where she's caught a fist there. A lot of times the little kids are involved because they're holding the little babies in their arms, and he took off before the police got there.
Police will issue a summons for fourth-degree assault.
And then it's up to the court what they do. Normally, a lot of times the charges are dropped before they ever do it because the woman changes her mind, goes down there and tells them she won't press charges. So that doesn't help the situation either, but they've got to live there, we don't.
20.
Less than 5 minutes later, another DV.
1 in 66 if you're 11, David. I've got a domestic now.
Okay, now they're giving out the family fights.
This time it's the north side. Wheelwright talks to the woman, then heads 2 blocks away where police have caught up with her boyfriend.
The guy's getting a little rowdy there today.
The man has injuries too, wounds where someone bit him.
But she's got a little more damage than he does. Better book him.
On busy nights like this, Corporal Wheelwright says he'll handle 8 or 9 domestic violence calls. That's the way it is now here in Spokane. Officer Gordon Simmons' job must be frustrating. It's his duty to serve protection orders, written warnings, stay away from the victim, or risk arrest.
Well, they're basically a tool that can be used by the victim to protect themselves from the abuser.
The problem is it can take days, even weeks, to track people down. Every hour Simmons is searching, that's 1 more hour, a victim goes unprotected. Officer Simmons tries to find the abuser at the workplace. He calls their friends. Sometimes he finds them at home and tells them they have to leave.
And in the order, it states that he can no longer stay there, and it tells us or directs us as the police department to stand by for up to 10 minutes while he packs a suitcase and leaves the home. We don't leave until he leaves.
Protection orders are supposed to make victims safer. In reality, sometimes they fuel an already emotional fire.
We have no way of knowing, how far the abuser is going to go. The order of protection is merely a piece of paper. If someone's to the verge that he's decided that he's going to hurt somebody bad, a piece of paper isn't going to change that urge or that feeling.
Those muffins good? There were a lot of sexual threats and different things that I just didn't know what he was going to do.
Several months ago, PJ packed up her 4 kids and moved out of their Coeur d'Alene home. She felt threatened by her estranged husband.
My restraining orders did no good at all. He would be basically perched under my bedroom window at nights.
PJ called city police 15 times, and 15 times they took a report. Her husband was never arrested.
He's got a brother-in-law in investigations where all my the police reports on the violations against the restraining orders went directly over there.
PJ says her husband threatened to use his job with the court system, his relatives who are cops, to take away her kids.
The city's response basically was, if you're scared, why don't you just leave?
She did, but the system kept working against her. After hiding her family in Spokane safe shelters for weeks, PJ found a small apartment. Then an Idaho judge ordered her to give her husband the new address.
And that was devastating to me because here I had just taken the children and myself from our only security, our home, only to give him our new address.
PJ says her divorce was just made final, and after a marriage she describes as abusive, it's like starting a new life for herself and her kids. While PJ's learned a lot about what she can live through, what she can overcome, one lesson she'll never forget: the protection orders meant to keep women safe are only as good as those who enforce them.
Something's wrong when they're not taking it serious, and I think that's what's happening. They think there's just a bunch of women crying wolf, and then they're at the door the next day, and they've been killed, and that's not right.
PJ's right. Women shouldn't die at the hands of their husbands or lovers. They shouldn't have to live in fear that they will. Nobody should. But it keeps happening, even though tough laws are in place and prosecutors stand ready to take these men to court.
We had a case recently where a woman was hospitalized for a week. We had pictures of her in a hospital gurney. She was bleeding from head to toe. She had head contusions that had permanent damage to her. And she came in and testified that she fell down the stairs, which was completely inconsistent with all the injuries and inconsistent with her statements of neighbors who were there. And the jury came back very quickly and found that defendant not guilty. And they said, "Why did you waste our time? Why are we here?"
99% of the time, that's what happens when battered women are taken to court against their will. And there's the dilemma. They can prosecute anyway and probably lose, and further victimize a woman who's already being victimized. Or not prosecute, knowing the violence will only get worse, knowing they may end up with a murder case on their hands.
Even though you get out of it for a short period of time, what's been termed as the honeymoon stage, it always goes back. Unless there is some treatment, unless there is help sought by the offender, it will happen again.
Why do women go back? Isn't that the million-dollar question? It seems so simple, but rarely do these women enter the legal system the first few times they're hit. They're still keeping the secret. Sometimes it takes years before they can admit their lives are in jeopardy. By then, a relationship of manipulation and control, fear and dependence rules their lives.
It has been likened by some authors and some researchers to prisoner of war kinds of existence, where someone has a lot of control over another individual's life, and so their ability to make rational choices under those circumstances is called intimate terrorism.
Still, we expect battered women to react as we would, and we tend to blame them when they don't.
Usually in an interview like this, I'm asked, why doesn't she leave? Nobody asks me, why does he hit her? And right away that sets up something that in society we think that if a woman is beaten somehow it's something she's doing,